You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
In the spirit of reconciliation, the Theatre Thoughts podcast acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all traditional custodians of the land on which our episodes are recorded. Thank you so much to our newest Patreon member, Nicalia, for being a super fan on the Theatre Thoughts podcast. To be like Nicalia, join up on our Patreon now to get all the exclusive benefits.
I read the script and I read the Fleabag scene and I thought our characters were dating and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then you and Tiffany said, oh, we're not going to make them date anymore. And I was like, oh, okay. And then that scene was still in there and I was like, oh, why are they still dating?
Actually... They did used to date in one of the earlier drafts.
Interesting. Okay.
Plot twist, Joey ends up with Gloria.
Yeah. That is canon.
Welcome back to a new episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast, hosted by myself, Justin Clark, and featuring an array of Australia's best and brightest in the theatre industry and beyond. You can get full access to the podcast by signing up to our monthly email and joining the Theatre Thoughts Patreon community for as little as $3 a month. All the details can be found by heading over to our Instagram account at TheatreThoughtsAUS or our official podcast Instagram at TTPod_official. Let us know what you think of this episode by giving us a rating wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome everyone to our next episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. We're back at Meraki Arts Bar to do our next Q&A with Slanted Theatre Productions. We're talking to the team at Short Blanket tonight. So I'm going to introduce our team one by one. I'm going to start with the man on my left, who is the writer of Short Blanket. He's an emerging Filipino-Chinese Australian writer and director who graduated from NIDA's MFA Writing for Performance. He was a finalist for Actors 2021 Sony Pitch Competition and the Inner West Film Festival Pitch Competition. And he's making his Sydney debut with Short Blanket as part of Meraki Arts Bar's 2023 season. It's Matt Bostock! Welcome! So embarrassing. Who, me? Next, we have a Filipino-Australian actor living on Gadigal land. Her training has included a variety of theatre, courses at the Lee Strasberg Theatre and Film Institute, the New York Film Academy, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, and is herself a graduate of the Academy of Film, Theatre and Television. It's Dominique Purdue!
So qualified. How big's your hex day?
Pay it by 1st of June. Okay, so our third guest is a Japanese English actor based in Sydney who graduated from NIDA in 2021 and has since immersed herself in working across commercial and short films. Her theatre credits include Beth and Soul, both part of NIDA's Festival of Emerging Artists. It's Sayuri Narroway. I chucked an extra S in there, sorry. And then last but not least, we have an actor, originally hailing, if you didn't know, originally hailing from Yamaji Country in Western Australia. He graduated from WAAPA's Bachelor of Arts, the acting course, in 2020 and has since performed in numerous productions. Most recently performed with the Poetry in Action's 2022 Australian and New Zealand educational tours, and he's making his Slanted Theatre debut. It's Joseph Tanti.
That is bad. That is awful.
So awkward when you talk about yourself, isn't it?
I was like, when it gets to me, I won't be awkward, but it got to me.
Yeah. I feel like if someone did it to me, I'd be terrible at it. So you never know. Well, thank you so much, guys, for jumping on and having a chat tonight.
Oh, thank you. No problem.
How did the show go? That's the first question I should ask.
Matt?
Oh,
ooh,
you wrote it.
You wrote it?
Yeah, I feel like I'm just going to get the whole Matt, you wrote it.
Well, Matt, you wrote it.
Yep,
By the way, do you prefer if I do this or one hand, or is it just up to me?
I mean, it's totally up to you. Whatever you want to do.
No,
You
it's
can
too much
go
pressure 'cause
double-handed
I called
if
it
you
out. I'm going to do this for now. No, so I think it went pretty well, right? How did we feel? Because I think it's been...
well.
Did it? How did it go? How did we enjoy it? That's right. I put you on the spot. How does it feel? It's been going really great. We've had some really great reviews and feedback from audiences and reviewers, and my dad didn't hate it, so I guess that's a win.
It's always a big win.
That is
Thanks,
a win.
Dad. He's a liberal, so it's a hard one to win over. But no, I think especially because the timeline to put this on, we've had to really just like come together really quickly, and it's been getting better with every single performance, and that just kind of speaks to the talent of the cast and crew that we've had to put on this weird little backwards play. Spoilers. Yeah, that's it. How do we feel being on there?
You look, yes, great.
That's what you want to hear.
You know, I keep saying that my voice is bad, but everyone keeps
It's so
complimenting my
soothing.
voice.
No, that's such a strong voice. That was one of the things I thought when I watched it a couple of Fridays ago. I was like, such a strong voice.
Well, yeah, I did lose it right
Did
before
you?
preview, so it still hasn't come back fully. But you know,
Just
everyone-
wait, it'll get stronger.
There you go. Actually, that was about the entire. It was one of the things I thought when I watched it. I was just like, as soon as you all speak, I was like, shit, this is like strong. This is like kind of bursting beyond like those small little four words. I was like, strong voice, obviously trained. Very good. Sorry, yes, but carry on. What about the production?
What else was I saying? What Matt said. Every show is different and getting better, and we're able to be more comfortable with each other and do some different things each night to keep things, fresh. But yeah, it helps my character because I don't have that much opportunity to improv because she's serious, guys. She's very serious. That's
And it's also been interesting because I've been telling anyone who comes up to me, but it is an interesting kind of phenomenon with the show where some nights, and it's purely based, and that's the magic of theater, because I'm more of a film boy, and I wrote this thing to me really trying to embrace theatricality. And part of that, when Gloria says stuff about theater is all about energy, and it's literally managing energy, how energy circulates between everyone, because that's the magic of it. It's bodies. It's everyone in communion together experiencing a thing. And based off of that, when people watch the show, depending on the group of bodies we have in there, some days it's like a raucous comedy where everyone's just laughing all the time at any of the horrible things that goes on, but other days it's like a serious drama where they're going, oh yeah, there's no, because I guess they're closer to it. There's not enough distance for them to laugh at it, so then it becomes this thing where they get to see themselves. And I think we're at such a privileged kind of position where it's no longer what we do. When a work then truly becomes a mirror of its audience. And I think that's been such a gratifying kind of like fulfilling thing to kind of see that, as because I'm a little sociopath and I'm like, oh, how is this going today? How are people reacting today? But no, I think just as a further conversation on how works are interpreted and how that changes the work in real time, it's such a cool little thing. Sorry to geek out.
No, that's why you're the writer, man.
Oh, God.
Good time to geek out.
Yeah.
Well, before I go through with any questions, I think it's most important that I open it up to the room, because there's so many of you here, which is amazing. Thank you. If anyone has a question they would like to ask, please, we can do it like teacher style and pop your hand up, and I'll come over with my little roaming mic.
That's
if anyone's
right.
got a question.
And we'll
Now's
only
your
take
chance.
it personally.
Don't be shy.
Oh, we got one right next to me.
Oh.
I have a question.
There you go.
Are you gonna answer?
Hey guys, great job on the play tonight. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you. I was just wondering, because of the satirical sense of the whole play, this is mainly towards the actors, I suppose. But I know as an actor, you get the sense of falling into a character that the real world disappears in a way. During this show, did you get that same feeling, or because of the satire, because of the meta-ness of it, were you really in the room with the audience?
I think, yeah, you spend so long with it, or you spend a lot of time intensely on it, that you are bound to kind of find the kernels of truth and empathy that you relate to within a character. So like, I know that for me, like, he's a very like funny dude, but we were never making him funny in rehearsals. The things that he says are funny because he says them so earnestly. And I think we really drilled into that throughout the process of just like making it very honest, so that then when we did get in front of an audience and they laughed at him, like there is a flinch reaction of like, oh, hey, whoa, that's, hey, come on, I'm being vulnerable, I'm putting myself out here. But that is the sign for me that it's in the right spot, I think. So yeah, I think I fall into stuff like that. And, you know, I feel like I can get on the soapbox and, you know, really rally behind a character a lot of the time, but you're biased because it's your character. So yeah, but that's just me.
Yeah, it's really fun to make fun of actors. Like, we're very easy to make fun of. And
thick-skinned, aren't you?
So I think Joseph and I had a really good time taking the piss out of what we do, and but like also finding that truth in it, and because those conversations obviously do happen in rehearsals, and it was really weird, like, while we were rehearsing the show, like, so much of the same jargon was being used with Tiffany, our director, and the lines between the scene and, like, our actual rehearsals got very blurred. Yeah, also interesting that our characters were named after us.
Yeah. I mean, that's another layer of, like, us falling into it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess.
But
Thanks,
I felt pretty, like, okay, like, separating myself from Dominique. Does that answer your question?
That's great. Awesome. Well, I think one of the things I wanted to ask in order to kind of give context was, Matt, where did the idea come from? So I guess like with any sort of work, especially one that is as intricate and versatile as this one, where so many people can attach different things to it, where did that come from, that little noggin?
Noggin of mine. I picked this pair of glasses and it came to me. No, yeah, that's on record. And that's that.
That joke falling flat will outlive me.
It did very good. Thank you, Spotify. No, but I thought I had done a play with Slanted Theatre. Like, I did a scene for a thing called chain play, and that's the concept of that is just a pass the parcel kind of approach to storytelling. And I had done a scene there. I wrapped it all up, and it was touching on similar themes, used similar kind of devices, but I was like, I kind of want to do the big brother to that, where you actually explore the ties between capital and art making, and what happens when you have things that have stakes to it. Because as a person of color, navigating this industry, I've talked to other writers, other creatives. We've all shared similar kind of discussions about it. And I went to a Writers Guild event, and a writer was there, and she was talking about, again, how she had done all the work. She had met all of these people, all these producers. She had staffed on these shows, and they would go, hey, we love your stuff. We love you. Let's come on back. Let's pitch a show. Let's make something. And she would pitch all of her ideas, and they would be like, next idea, thank you. And that just kept happening. And she then was like, is it me or is it them? So she went to the UK, and obviously it's a different structure. They have there's different capital there. Yeah. But she went over there, and she did the same things, same meetings, same pitches. But they went, oh, that's wonderful. What do you mean that's never happened in Australia before, and they haven't done that? And she started to realize that, oh, maybe Australia as a market just isn't ready for me. But then what does that mean for me as a storyteller when telling Australian stories, like, is in my blood? So she was like, I guess I'll just go back and make money in the meantime. And I think that sums up so much about our frustrations about the thing, because we all want great stories. We all benefit. It's just when you're stuck in the cycle of it, it's so hard to break. And so that's when I came up with that idea of, I want to just take a thing that shows what we currently kind of get, or what any kind of producer says they want. And then with every scene, take a step back, peel it back like an onion, and show the developments, but then end it on what really inspired it, so that we, as an audience, deconstruct what we get, but also everything we gain, but also everything we lose. And to me, that's the essential kind of journey of this play. It's not necessarily about race. It is about power. It's about these structures. And to me, a status quo will not allow someone to tell the truth about it in a way that threatens it. But at the same time, they will placate because the people want it. So and it's that big tug of war compromise that we all have to go through. That's my soapbox thing done.
Wow, cool. I feel like massive round of applause for that one. That's so good. Amazing. Thank
Redemption.
you. Yeah. No, it comes through, I think, in the writing as well. Yeah. And I think for me, when I was watching it, obviously, as you're just a white man, I would approach it in a very different way, you know. And then a lot of, like Joseph, your characters as well, and your character, I should say, a lot of things you were going through in your character. There was like single lines that like obviously resonated with me for who I am. Yeah. But I loved seeing this perspective. Once I realized, spoilers, that it was told in reverse, I was just like, right. Yeah. It's like this watered down version of what somebody's art wants to be. And that was such like an epiphany moment for me. I think. Yeah.
When did it happen for you? When did you realize it?
It was when your two characters came on stage and you were really friendly with each other after you just had a fight. And I was like, hang on a sec, why are they friends? This doesn't make any sense. and then I was like, oh my God, it's in reverse. I was just sitting there just like, wow. Okay. And then from there, I just had like a different lens, like as it scaled towards the ending of it.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you all feel when you first read it? Because it's a very confusing. Like, when did you pick up on the reverse stuff when you first?
About a week ago. I really didn't. It took me an embarrassingly long time to realize. I like read the script and I read the Fleabag scene and I thought our characters were dating and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then you and Tiffany said, oh, we're not going to make them date anymore. And I was like, oh, okay. And then that scene was still in there and I was like, oh, why are they still dating?
Actually, they did used to date in one of the earlier drafts.
Interesting. Okay.
Plot twist, Joey ends up with Gloria.
Yeah. That is canon.
No, I remember reading the audition scenes and being quite confused because there were straight scenes that were just me and Dom, and then there were scenes that were from the play in a play. And I remember being like, what the fuck is this shit writing? Sorry.
Joseph! Language!
But then it dawning and be like, oh, this is actually great writing. Redemption, man.
Oh, God. He got the Tanti seal of Well, how did you feel, I guess, with your character? Because it is, like, some of the scenes in there are quite confronting. Yeah. And I guess one of the questions I could ask is, how did you approach that as an actor?
So there's some really straight scenes that are just Joey being an actor and talking, and then there's play in the play scenes that are this version of the play that could exist or is being presented or pitched that present these really intense situations all around race and power, like Matt was talking about dominance. I think that stuff is it can be tricky because it's very real and it's all inspired by real shit that happens in the real world and that people have to put up with every day. So for me, as tricky as it is 100% worth doing it because I don't want to water it down. That is the experience that a lot of people have, and it's an experience that should be shown and so that people can feel heard and feel seen and feel validated. So yeah, it can be tricky, but I was only ever like happy to do it if everyone else in the room was happy for it to be there. And if it didn't make sense in the storytelling, it wouldn't be there. But I think all of those moments, especially like that last scene, which is the moment that inspires Lainey to write the play, her being racially abused on a train, which the character I'm playing is the perpetrator of, like it is the payoff of the play. And if it didn't make sense, if it didn't work, if it wasn't worth it, I would hate that it was there. but there is the two-sided nature of it that it's awful. It's definitely not my favorite thing to do. But it's important that it's there and necessary that it's there so that we see how far we've gone from it. We go back to the Fleabag scene and it's like that started from that that's all these money people come out of the walls whenever there's the potential for something to make a bit of cash, and they taint it and they ruin it. So yeah, for me, as long as it's connected to the integral part of a story and an arc and a character, and then in the room itself that everyone's feeling safe and I'm not going to do it until we're doing it and stuff like that.
And I guess on the flip side of that, Dom, how did you approach it from your perspective? Because you have this gorgeous monologue at the end and then obviously a lot of confronting scenes as well. So I guess how was that approaching it for yourself?
Is it really bad that I really like the Fleabag scene? I really enjoy that scene. Yeah, I mean, like Joseph kind of said it all, that like that monologue at the end somehow morphs into the Fleabag scene, which and to kind of see how all of these factors affect that, which is why I think the storytelling in reverse is so effective. Is that like you see the Fleabag scene first, and then you see this really sincere and authentic and poetic monologue at the end. Yeah. It was great. It's been really interesting. I mean, apparently, like, I don't know what I'm saying.
The worst one was definitely that maid scene. That was our
and I think
least favorite.
We haven't even like talked about like the scenes in between that and just kind of figuring out the best way to do that, and even like doing the accent and stuff, I felt a little bit uncomfortable, but yeah, like Joseph said, like it's all there to serve a purpose and to show this trajectory of how this this incident has been so morphed and affected by outside forces that shouldn't affect it. Yeah, so like Joseph said, I was happy to do it, and happy to,
I guess your payoff.
be the Filipino actor.
I guess your payoff is that monologue at the end.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
like,
quite a good scene.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that monologue is great. Yeah, I didn't understand it at first. I was like, I read it.
It's all a process. It's fun.
This whole play.
Amazing.
But yeah, like I said a week ago, I figured it out, and I really clicked into place.
We're
and
in.
it all just like really just
We had started doing shows at that point, but whatever.
I'll throw it back out to the audience and see if you guys have any other questions you want to ask before I ask my big one. And then we'll do our 1 minute theatre thoughts to wrap up. So does anyone have any other questions you want to throw to our amazing guests here about anything? We're gonna. Sorry, you've already had one. Thank you.
My name's Daniel. Thanks for the play. That was awesome. I just had a question around like female Filipino anger. Like I come from a long line of like titas and ninangs who are like nurses, and they're in the service industry. And that industry has a very, almost like the theatre, a very superficial face to it. And sometimes that anger shows out domestically, and you know, like the strong sort of Filipino voice that is. I was just wondering what your experience of that anger is like. And I've seen like a lot more of that come out in Australia. And it's good to hear that voice. Like I think of, there's a hardcore band called Gang Called Speed. They're all Asian Australians. There's a poet in Blacktown, Eunice Adranda, and she does a lot of great poetry around the same sort of theme and this expression of anger. I was just wondering what your experiences are of that and in the play as well. It's a big question. I'm sorry.
It's a big question.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Look. No, I feel like I have to probably be a bit honest about this. I'm half Australian and I am white passing, and I haven't really and a part of like when I got cast in this, I was a little bit like, am I the right person to be telling this? Because I have not experienced racial prejudice and discrimination against. My titas have, my mom says she hasn't, but I feel like she has, and she just kind of fights back a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I see it happen, and it's so, and yeah, it's just weird. Like, it's just a weird thing that happens. And I don't actually know if I don't know if there is like, I don't know if anger is the right word to describe it, because I think particularly in Filipino culture, you're so, the culture in the Philippines is that you take everything, and you're just, that's why there's so many Filipino nurses, and there's, Filipinos who are doing the jobs that a lot of white people don't want to do. And so I don't know if anger is the right word. I mean, it's like what my character says, like, this is just another part of her day. I don't know that there's necessarily like an emotional arc. I think that a lot of the times they are just like, well, this is kind of how it is. So it's nice to have a play where, there is a bit of bite back and there is a bit of fight back. And because I'm sure there is anger, but it's just so pushed down because it's such a culture thing that, like, when Filipinos come here, like, they just have to deal with it. It's just an accepted part of living in a white dominated space. And yeah, but I get angry on behalf of my kababayans, and it's been a real privilege to be able to tell that story and to give them a voice, I guess.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the question.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I have a kind of my big question I'm starting to ask in all my episodes, and I guess it ties very neatly into the show as well. I'd like to know your opinions of how you think the theatre industry has changed in recent years, and your reaction to that in the works that you do, works you create, and so on.
I definitely think I have noticed change, for sure, happening. To be completely honest, I've only, as of maybe like the past 2 years, started going to more like indie theatre and smaller theatre companies. Like, when I was growing up, I mean, actually, no, like, not even. When I was in high school, I like only knew of like STC and Belvoir, and that was about it. So, and they put on, as we all know, like very specific kind of shows. But even there, they have started to branch out. Like, when I saw White Pearl, that was beautiful to me, because not just in theatre, but in cinema and everything, I've grown up not feeling seen at all. So seeing shows like that, like new works come out that aren't just, A View from the Bridge, that I think they're really important. And so being part of something like this has been so special, because every day I get to show up and be part of people who have a like-minded and have similar experiences, and you included. Don't worry. And yeah, just even from the smaller shows that I've been seeing, I don't know, we'll have to get a comment from Indie Mainstay, but I have seen, more effort to make things cater to more people.
Yeah.
And I think we are on the right journey.
Yeah, it's
but
definitely
it's
getting there, developing anyway.
Still a long way to go, though.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. I guess to echo that, I think the changes that were maybe 5-10 years ago, very surface, where it's like, look, we're doing the Seagull, but one of the second leads is BIPOC or whatever. Are you happy now? The stuff that sort of started as surface is changing into actually being a bit more integrated within a system and an artistic kind of journey, to use a very wanky word. But, it's a slow change, because I guess like it comes from people seeing themselves on stage, being able to see, I'm from this minority group and I see a person on stage that is from the same minority group as me. And then in however many years' time I can in whatever my industry is, I can enter and be myself and not have to change for that. So I guess that it's slow and It's changing and it's better, but there's a long way to go.
I also think that the audience is more there for it. Like, I think that particularly in independent theater, I think because it's so many young indie voices who are like there is more of a hunger and desire and demand to see more authentic stories rather than just kind of peppering Asians throughout main stage productions.
Our assistant director was Asian, so we can do whatever we want kind of vibe.
I will mirror that. A lot of the people I've spoken to on the podcast for that exact thing is that they're hungry and also not to what was the word they said? They said something like not to take the audiences for granted and what we want for granted. Don't assume that we want the same.
And it's not even just like young people. Like it's it's the old white people who are like the subscribers to theaters. I work at Belleville box office and like the respect. There's been so many times where like there have been like kind of newer scripts that are not pre-established works that are about queer themes and Asian themes and really new, and a lot of times like these old white patrons will come up to the box office and be like, I really enjoyed that was really good. And they're loving it, they want it, they're just as hungry as we are. So I think that definitely also plays a part.
That's so good. Did you want to add anything, writer?
Writer. I don't know. I think for me, I'm also a little newbie. And by the way, it's been very interesting because people have come up to me and have been like, "Oh, this person, they must have been based off of this person," and everyone's like submits a different name to it, and I have to clarify that I know no one.
Oh, okay.
I know no one. I did this because it's like a little game. If you know how the system works, and not saying I do fully, but you can game it out because at the end of the day, again, all people want to do, especially in the play, there's no bad person in the play. They are all just trying to tell the story in what they think is the right way. Right? And that's what's driving these people. They're not here necessarily, unless they're the board and they don't have a vested interest like that, to make money. They're here because they care. But I also do think that, and we see this in the play, that yes, things are changing. Yes, it's getting better in the sense of more of us are getting employed. There's a little bit more visibility. And they'll put on an Asian play. Great. But at the same time, I would just like to always implore, and I think if there was any moral to the play, it is this, is that we as an audience deserve better. And we know it. We know when it's performative, even if they say that it is an Asian writer and a fully Asian cast. When Gloria says, how can it feel white when it's a fully diverse cast and crew? Because it is not about the people they slap on only. It is about how they approach the product, the story, how they view us, and what they think we want. Because they don't, producers in some senses who are driven by that, they're just going off of what they think people want. Are they going off of the story? I'm not sure. And that's what I think still needs to happen for us to keep demanding more from what we see. And it is there. There's so many talented people in this room, to my left, to my right, out there who have stories to tell. And we just got to keep demanding that the structures reform itself so that at the end of the day, you can like Asian Fleabag. And you can also like that, because at the end of the day, all stories have some form of validity. It's just the fact that some stories are being put out as the only story. And that's all we get. And it's presented as something else. Where we, the people, deserve more. Okay.
Lovely. Woo! Amazing.
Drop that mark. Drop that mark.
I don't want to damage it.
Well, let's wrap up with our 1 minute theatre thoughts segment. Now, I forgot to show you the questions, so this really is going to be off the top of your head. So essentially, what I do is I start a timer for a minute, and we'll go one at a time. So like I'll ask the question, we'll go one on one. And it's basically the first thing comes off the top of your head. Okay, they're all like theatre related questions. Okay, here we go. What's been your favourite production you've seen recently?
Am I first?
Yes.
Oh, fuck. I think the first thing that comes to the top of my mind was Burning by Amy Soul in the NIDA's Emerging Festival Emerging Artists. It was it was just an incredible show.
I really liked Jungle in the Sea at Balboa.
Oh.
Represent.
That's a good one.
Brand loyalty.
I'm actually drawing a blank.
I'm pushing it with recent, but Coil by Regroup.
Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Never seen they do
House.
super genre breaking stuff, form breaking stuff. Never seen anything like it. It's
Okay.
awesome.
Oh my god,
Oh,
wait,
you
I
got
have
it?
an answer.
Yep.
But I forgot what it's called. It's that there's a hand puppet. It was at at Old Fitz.
Hand of God?
Yes.
The Hand of God.
Yes, thank you.
Very good, got there. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Pink Moon by Nick Drake.
Ooh.
We get sad.
It's All Coming Back to Me Now by Celine Dion.
Yes.
I don't know why, but recently I've been really into duetting. If someone wants to do it with me, Shallow.
Oh, very good.
Don't Stop Me Now by Queen is a crowd
Classic.
pleaser.
Absolutely.
Well, last question. Which production would you most want to see come to Australia? Just so I know, the last one, someone said Lion King, so you can't say Lion
Yes,
King.
I was there for that.
It's big to Australia.
It's been to Australia.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it.
It's been many times.
Loved it. Really
Should
good.
someone break the news? Slave Play.
Oh, interesting.
There's actually a Filipino musical in New York going on. I saw it in 2014. It's called Here Lies Love, and it's about the wife of the dictator of the Philippines. But it's like done in like a disco. It was insane when I saw it.
Wow.
It was really sick. And they're remounting it on Broadway.
Amazing.
And they should come here.
Okay.
Maybe I can play Imelda.
I saw the National Theatre Live of Life of Pi.
Oh, yeah.
I cried like 6 times. I cried before it started. It's just so, it's a beautiful story and beautifully portrayed. I'd love to see it live.
This is, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I have booked tickets to go watch a recording version of Fleabag.
Yes.
And I mean, obviously I would have loved to see it in person, but I get these two, so that's the next best thing.
Yes, I love Fleabag, big fan. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for all those amazing questions. We'll wrap it up there because obviously thank you so much, audience, for staying behind for all our questions. Thank you so much for your questions as well. Please, massive round of applause for these amazing artists. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
A massive thank you to the team at Slanted Theatre Productions for joining us for our live episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. We'll be back at Meraki Arts Bar on Tuesday the 11th of July to talk with the team at Queen Hades Productions and their performance of Tough Titties. Follow the link in our episode's description to book your tickets. This episode was produced by Echidna Audio. Follow them on Instagram at Echidna Audio for all their audio services. Once again, if you enjoyed our podcast, leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts and head to the link in this episode's description for our Instagram account, TikTok, YouTube, and Patreon. My name's Justin Clark, and I'll see you next time here on the Theatre Thoughts podcast.